Green Zone Max, we're back. We're going to talk really fast, try to sell something. No, we're not. I mentioned in my Witsit video about Just Jack Flat Earth and about how he failed out of Bible school, and he was there to gain secret knowledge to lord over people. And I wanted to find that clip to make sure that there isn't anything taken out of context and that it's out of their own mouths that they're saying these things. I also did notice that this is their very first Shabbat scripture study, where we get some kind of Freemason vibes going on with here, where Just Jack Flat Earth explains that he became an apprentice to the pastor. Now, last I checked, being an assistant pastor or a deacon was not like being a plumber or being a baker. Like there was one set way to go about doing things. You're not an apprentice, you're a deacon or assistant pastor. But nevertheless, it's also happened to be on May 1st. May Day, coincidence, who knows? But let's let Just Jack Flat Earth tell his story. And yeah, we'll just let him do that.
Well, I mean, just to give you a short testimony of how I came to this realization is I grew up in church most of my life. There was a few years of period of my life where I turned away from the Creator and started doing things my own way, trying to get my own power, et cetera, et cetera.
Your own power.
But Yah called me back and showed me that His way is the only way to life. And so I left the bad choice I made and went back to church, and I was there every time the church was open. There came a point in time when I was going to these weekend retreats called The Encounter, and you go first as a participant and then as a server, someone that works with new people that are coming in. It's a time where you get cut off from media, you get cut off from your phone and all that stuff, where you just dig in.
Do you notice he didn't mention the type of church that he went to, whether it was a Catholic church, a Baptist church, say maybe a Freemason church, you know, like the Mormons got going on, or the Joseph Smith guys, right? Maybe the Freemason church, the Joseph Smith guys church, maybe. He didn't mention which one he was going to. And they'll say, Lord, Lord, look at all these wonderful works. And he says, I never knew you.
And you have some good worship time and whatnot. And while I was there, he kept impressing on me obedience, obedience, obedience. And as far as I knew, in the theological premise that I had, that obedience meant specifically like do things for the church, with the church, about the church. It was all about the church. And so...
Do you guys save people out there? You get that obedience, obedience, obedience thing and for the church, for the church? Is that what you get? Is that what a saved person gets?
Huh? I had gotten laid off from my job at that time, and I worked for the church 6 days a week, no pay. I painted their signs. I ran their front office when they had a daycare there, or a preschool, sorry. And I used to do cold calling to invite people to church, and I used to run errands for the pastor. He used to pick up his dry cleaning and get tools that he needs and stuff like that. But during that time, I had a lot of time to talk with him, and he saw that I had desire to, talk about scripture. And he asked me if I had ever considered being a pastor. And I told him when I was younger that I had a desire for being a pastor, and I tried to pursue that a couple of times, and it went horribly wrong. And when I went to the dark side, I thought that it was near impossible. But when he presented me with the idea, I said, I'd love to go back to the idea of becoming a pastor. And he says, well, I'd like to train you. If you become my apprentice, I'll make you a pastor in this church. So
I'd like to become an apprentice. I'll make you a pastor in this church. Is that how that works? Now, maybe in a Freemason church, right? Like the Mormons got going or the Joseph Smith guys got going. That's maybe how that works. But generally, a person would be a member of a church for a long time as maybe a deacon and then get some sort of professional training to get all the background of like sermon writing and some cases marriage counseling, Christian marriage counseling, and all of these things that just goes beyond, just standing up there and telling your story or whatever, or doing Sunday school. It's Very interesting, the use of that word apprentice. Very interesting.
So working there, the next time that they had what's called a church leadership meeting, he invited my wife to join, and I was like, "Oh, good! I'm in with the cool crowd. I'm in with the people who get the secret knowledge of Scripture in the background. They pray better."
They're the people who get the secret Scripture in the background. What is Just Jack's motivation? To get secret occult knowledge to lord over people. That's his motivation. It's right out of his mouth.
Better than everybody else. They're going to dig in. I thought this is going to be an awesome experience. And I go there, and it's a freaking business meeting. And he was talking about this guru, Smith Wigglesworth, and teaching you how to maximize your time and to use your time more efficiently. And with that, you need to make time for the Creator. To me, it sounded like kindergarten lesson. Like, no crap, you got to make time for the Creator. No crap, you got to make time for family. Like, what is the point of this? And then
there's a guy who comes in who had no work, no job, no nothing, and he was mowing the lawns and doing odd jobs around the church. And he's going into the meetings of the church and taking care of the building and the business that needs to be done, and he's spiritually above them. Or is this just a story that he's telling? Which is what I will say, this is just a story that he's telling. I think that he's a Freemason dude who's now yoked up to Witsit and giving him Q points. Makes way more sense like that when you look at these guys only being around for about a year and all of a sudden having all this vast knowledge of how you need to follow the Torah. And all of these little things you can throw out there to throw off the Christians when they say, "What do you mean Satan doesn't exist? What are you talking about?" Oh, in this version of the Torah, Satan really just means bad guys. They have all of these apologetics for their Hebrew roots cult. Very strange.
And he said that I want everyone in this meeting to do a 21-day fast to see what God would have for you this year. And this was February 2012, and I'll remember it forever because my life was destroyed and reborn that day. Now that's not to say when I was saved by the faith of Jesus or anything else like that.
They don't believe in the faith of Jesus. This is what I'm talking about. Their hypocritical nonsense gobbledygook. This is the stream that they did May 1st. They did another one today, May 16th. Okay, in the one today, they don't believe in faith of Jesus saves you. They don't believe that. They don't call themselves Christians either. They say the Christians believe this, indicating that they are not Christian.
Saved by removing myself from religion. Saved
by removing myself from religion, he did. He said that with a little
smirk
on his face. In that
time, I took it seriously, and he had a list of different quote-unquote quote fasts. Some of them were like, abstain from candy for the 21 days, abstain from television, abstain from this, abstain from that. But these are not fasting. Fasting is where you cut off your food intake and media intake as well, and your focus is solely on Yah to move in your life so that he can show you what's supposed to be going on.
How about you cut off your heresy intake?
Anytime that I did a fast before that point, I always turn the TV off, because how can you focus on Yah and what he wants for you? How can you pray with the TV going, the radio going, But I did no TV anyway.
Oh, good for you.
And during that time, my prayer was...
Oh, yeah, he's going above and beyond. I mean, you regular Christians out there, you pray with the television on. I turn the TV off.
I had a basic framework, which is, Father, help me to be who you want me to be and do what you want me to do and bring those to me you want me to minister to. And as I was praying this, I heard a voice, a small inside voice. And granted, I hear from the positive and the negative small inside voices. Because there's sometimes that my flesh wants things, and there's times that my spirit wants things. So I had to test the spirit. And at first I said, when I heard in my head, how are you going to do what I want you to do? My first.
It's got literal voices in his head. All right. I think that this is like all complete garbage. I think he's lying. But there you have it. In the part of, oh yeah, well, I failed out of Bible school. Maybe he didn't get to that part yet. But, you know, the whole, I failed out of Bible school. I went to go be a church for secret knowledge. And I was upset that they were trying to run a church. They were actually trying to deal with the duties of the church. You know, like a budget and like fixing things and organizing meetings and setting up the choir practice and doing the things that a church does. Just like in the Bible when they met on Sunday to collect money and decide what they were going to do with the church that week. But he was too spiritually pure and above to listen to any of that. And then he walks off alone and gets special revelation from two different voices in his head telling him to do things. It's all, I think, a story and nonsense, but the key indicator there is that he was to become an apprentice, right? Which is not language that Christians use. All right. Freemason, Just Jack Flat Earth. There you have it. With that, we're going to be out of here and continuing on to what some of these things that these guys say. Now, you got to have a starting point. And, you know, because these guys are such hypocrites and liars and heretics, and they switch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to whatever position and whatever angle they want to play. Like slippery little eels, right? Or snakes. You got to take their videos in little tiny bits and say, this is what you said here. This is what you said over here. This is what you said down here. This is what you said down here. And they all completely contradict with one another. And you have to do this to show people, because otherwise they're just like $49.95 free shipping. I'm right. Torah's all you got to worry about. And use the New Testament when it suits me. Garbage. Infuriating garbage. That needs big blinking red warning signs, and it needs the train arms to come down in front of the road to say, whoa, whoa. Don't listen to these guys. Or if you do, mock them and make fun of them, because that's what it's deserving of. Devil don't like being mocked neither. With that, we'll see you in the next one.